Hey, what's going on, everybody? And I'd like to go into a little more detail on the unlawful arrest that we saw take place in, North Huntingdon Township. This was on July 27th of 2025. And I think what I'd like to really discuss or to get into some of the details of, you know, is the North Huntingdon Police Department lobby a limited public forum? What are the privacy concerns that the North Huntingdon Police Department are trying to use in order to block our constitutional rights from being exercised in the lobby? We're going to talk about a couple cases that would suggest that what they did was wrong, or that they're not applying things fairly and properly. So I think the best place to start would be if we could jump into the affidavit of probable cause. So you'll notice here that the date that this was filed is July 28th of 2025, and that is important considering the incident happened on July 27th of 2025. So you'll see that any arrests that could have occurred would have had to have occurred without an affidavit of probable cause. With no affidavit of probable cause, it is suggested that there also was no issuing authority involved, which would make this entire process a warrantless arrest. So, on July 27th of 2025, two male individuals, that would be myself, Nicholas Carrozza, and Dustin Loge, arrived at the North Huntingdon Township Administrative Building, also known as the North Huntingdon Township Townhouse, located at 11279 Center Highway, North Huntington, Westmoreland County, PA 15642. Located within the townhouse is the North Huntingdon Township Police Department and various other North Huntingdon Township departments, government administrative offices, and the like. The North Huntingdon Township Police Department has a public entrance at the lower level of the townhouse directly across from the townhouse's general parking area. So they're acknowledging immediately within their own affidavit of probable cause that it is a public entrance. This entrance is clearly identified to the public as the police department entrance. The North Huntingdon Township Police Department entrance has a single glass door that leads to a small lobby. There is no buzzer, there is no keypad. You do nothing but walk up to this door that they're describing, grab the handle, freely pull it open, and enter. This would be the public entrance that they are describing. Within the lobby, there is seating, various police and township notices, and a large glass window. So they're acknowledging that there is information for the public. Behind the glass window sits a North Huntingdon Township Police Department telecommunications officer, i.e., a police dispatcher. The dispatcher is the first person with whom a citizen, adult, and child victim of a crime, or even a person suspected of criminal wrongdoing, who arrives to meet with a police officer for an interview, speaks. Aside from the dispatcher window, where the public can speak with a dispatcher or an officer, the lobby contains a secure door through which an officer or citizen, suspect, arrestee, or victim can access the interior of the police department if an officer so authorizes. Okay, perfect. So the sign that they have outside of the front door, right, the one that's freely accessible, no restriction, no keypad, zilch, that identical sign is also outside of the door they're describing here, which they clearly state, it's authorized and that you need help from an officer or somebody within the department to give you access to this door. That one we know, no filming, audio, or video beyond this point. So we can assume that that sign being there on the inside was there prior to them putting the sign on the exterior of the building, which would lead me to believe that they had some sort of an incident in the past where recording in the lobby was a problem for them. They didn't like it. I actually happen to be somebody that in the past they had this issue with. So it looks like what they did was they just decided, hey, let's just get, how could we fix this? Let's just get another one of those signs. Let's throw it on the, exterior of the building. That'll eliminate people filming in our lobby. And they completely just disregard, the rights of the American citizen and just do what they want to do to make, their lives easier, more comfortable. I mean, whatever they're trying to do things in secrecy. They don't want accountability. They do not want to be questioned, called out, any of the sorts. So, the lobby of the North Huntingdon Township Police Department is used daily by victims of various crimes, including but not limited to domestic violence, sexual assaults, and juvenile victims of crimes, all of whose personal information is kept privately for their safety to preserve the integrity of all ongoing criminal investigations. And I agree that these things should be done privately. I do see the importance in protecting these things, especially the victims, most certainly the juvenile victims. But again, it's a public lobby. You shouldn't be conducting sensitive business in that lobby. And anybody coming into that lobby that is the victim of a sensitive crime, I would assume that they're being met by the dispatcher. The dispatcher has been trained to identify this to be a victim, or within a few words spoken, it is quickly understood this is the victim of a crime, and that they are quickly ushered through that secured door that you speak about in the affidavit, given access by an officer or the dispatcher, and you get them into a private room in the back. Why? It's a pretty low bar you're setting for yourself, North Huntingdon Police Department especially, when you try to use the victims of these crimes as a shield to violate other citizens' constitutional rights. Nobody was up there trying to pry into any sensitive business. We were up there to ask questions that concern, the public safety, exercising our First Amendment rights to do so. And this is your excuse for arresting us, is because there was nobody else even up there at the times when we were up there. I'd like to point that out. So, again, I can also personally attest that the lobby is frequently used by undercover and plainclothes officers from the North Huntingdon Police Department, as well as other law enforcement agencies. Again, you have entrances in the back of the building that the public has no access to. If you're not already doing this, I would highly suggest you instructing your undercovers, your plainclothes visiting agencies to please park in the back where the public doesn't have access to, and use the doors in the back for safety and security purposes. I mean, I agree with that. So, but what you're not going to do is you're not going to use the undercovers and the plainclothes and the other agencies as an excuse by saying that, they're in and out of that main public lobby, day and night. And because we need to preserve their identities, and, there's just victims day and night in the lobby, because of these things, we need to strip you of your constitutional rights. That I'm not going to accept. So again, the identities of these parties must remain confidential and not be recorded or disseminated through social media to maintain the integrity of their undercover work, as well as to ensure their personal safety, particularly due to the integrity or inherently dangerous nature of their work and the violent tendencies of the criminals they interact with and investigate. So because you guys do this and you get paid handsomely, I might add, there's not an officer in that department making, much less than $90,000 a year. Because of that, though, I have to sacrifice some of my constitutional rights. It will be noted that on the exterior of the township building, on the left-hand side of the front door to the entrance of the police department lobby, the one that they remember, this is the lobby that they called the public entrance, right? There is clear and conspicuous blue and white signage is posted and securely fastened to the brick of the building. At about eye level, the sign reads verbatim: secured facility, no video, no audio recording beyond this point. No statute, no policy, nothing. There's not. It's just a sign, a blue and white sign. Again, mind you, the same sign that you will then find inside the lobby, right outside of the secured door, the same exact sign. And they go on the state here. The exact same sign is also clearly, okay, boom. So at approximately 11:31 hours, Carrozza and Loge entered the North Huntingdon Township Police Department lobby. Loge then came to the dispatch window asking to speak to the highest ranking officer on shift in order to file a complaint. Carrozza and Loge are both self-described First Amendment auditors. That's not accurate. Concerned citizens, yes. First Amendment auditors, no. Not comfortable to be engaging with you guys without recording, yes, that's accurate. First Amendment auditors, no. Citizens who have had their rights stripped away from them by the local police, yes. Retaliated against, absolutely. First Amendment auditors, no. Who record their often confrontational and combative interactions with law enforcement and government officials to post on social media. Why are they often confrontational and combative? It's because you guys don't respect us as the people. You don't respect our rights. You don't respect the rules. You don't respect criminal procedure, as this affidavit shows. We'll get to that here shortly. This is why it's confrontational and combative. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. When you guys act the way that you act, we are supposed to be confrontational and combative to that. We're not supposed to accept that. So, as both entered the lobby, Carrozza had a full-size tripod equipped with an iPhone and a microphone attachment, while Loge had a handheld gimbal with an iPhone attached to it. Okay, both were recording and live streaming onto social media, specifically Facebook, while in the lobby at the North Huntingdon Township Police Department. Both Carrozza and Loge are known to regularly carry recording equipment on their persons in an attempt to record public and non-public government and government employee activities. I don't even know what they're trying to suggest here to record. First of all, we carry them on our person. The number one reason we carry them is protection, right? Because you guys will lie, you will cheat, you will steal. You have a badge and society blindly trusts you. So the first reason we're recording is always going to be for protection. Period. Not looking to film. And what is this non-public government and government employee activity? So who are what is a non-public government employee activity? That would be my first question. And what have I recorded that I'm not allowed to record? That would be my second question. I regularly post my recordings on social media, website, Facebook. Yes, I do, as well as other platforms as well. Please make sure that you come check out all of the platforms. And again, if you want to get a hold of me, I would say that the best way to do so would have to be through email. But these are some of the different social media platforms that we are on and that we are trying to post on regularly as best we can. So, back to the day prior, on July 26th, both Carrozza and Loge entered the lobby of the police department, again recording and live streaming on Facebook using the same equipment. On July 26th, North Huntingdon Police Department Sergeant Carrie Bauer verbally advised both Carrozza and Loge that they were not permitted to record within the North Huntingdon Township Police Department lobby and that they were to stop immediately. Both Carrozza and Loge continued to record, and despite Sergeant Bauer's request to the contrary, Sergeant Bauer provided both Carrozza and Loge a physical printout of Commonwealth v. Bradley. No, that's not true. Lieutenant Arendes gave it to us. That I have on camera. So the affidavit, again, not accurate. Sergeant Bauer did not give that to us. Lieutenant Arendes gave it to us. Lieutenant Arendes is the first person we had contact with on the 26th. We had contact with Carrie Bauer. That's it, and that's all. All we were asking Miss Bauer to do was to clearly explain to us why our constitutional right to record in the publicly accessible lobby was no good. They wouldn't even come out from behind the glass to speak with us. It's a mirrored glass, hard to hear, can't see, horrible way to communicate with another human being. They couldn't even step out on the 26th. And mind you, the reason that we were there on the 26th was the potential burglary that happened in the early morning hours. Okay, around I think it was 3 in the morning, there was a potential burglary that had happened, and this comes after a string of other crimes, including stolen vehicles used in drive-by shootings. This comes after us asking at the public meetings, asking questions, getting no answers, the chief not showing up to public meetings. These are the things that led up to our visit on July 26th. Not that we are First Amendment auditors, but that our township is having some issues right now, drug-related, crime-related issues, and nobody wants to answer for it. That's why we went on the 26th. So they gave us the Kevin Ray Bradley, holding that essentially police department's no filming conditions imposed on the lobby of its police department was legitimate and a reasonable restriction under the First Amendment. And that may be true in the Kevin Ray Bradley case, because if I remember correctly in reading the case law, the lobby that Mr. Bradley was in was a secured lobby. There was a buzzer to get in and out of that lobby that was controlled by a desk sergeant. I believe that he also had a prior incident leading up to this incident in the lobby. He kind of knew that he was tiptoeing on a very fine line. There is no fine line here at North Huntingdon's Police Department. They have a separate entrance in the back that would be the secured entrance that you need buzzed in and out. That's where confidential informants, that's where undercovers, things of that nature would go. Once you get into the publicly accessible lobby, whether you're a victim or somebody there to get public information, they have a drug drop-off box. Regardless of what your business is, you can just freely go in and out. Freely take what you need, information off the walls, the whole nine. If you're a victim and you get with the dispatcher, you tell them who you are, what you're there for, they would quickly get you through the secured door, which is all of this is mentioned in their affidavit of probable cause. Minus that they don't want you to know that there is private entrance in the back for the undercovers and things of that nature. Because these are the excuses they're trying to use to strip us of our constitutional rights, is these are safety concerns. Think of the victims, think of how dangerous the jobs of the officers are. And it's, while I respect all of that, right, I'm not going to sacrifice my constitutional rights for you to ensure the safety of other human beings. I'm going to ensure my safety, right? And what my safety demands, especially in my, showing my previous dealings with you guys, is that I record my encounters with you. That's what my safety demands. Now, I'm not going to put the safety of anybody else above my own. And that's it. And that's a harsh reality that maybe you guys need to come to terms with. So let's keep going into this affidavit of probable cause, right? So Sergeant Bauer provided a copy of the case, which is not true. It was Lieutenant Arenda's. Logan explained that it was not only impermissible to record within the North Huntingdon Township Police Department lobby, but that both would be criminally charged if they continued to do so. And there was a lot of we'll be cited, you'll be charged, you'll be arrested, you'll be summoned. They didn't know because there was nothing they could do. So they were trying to bullshit us, and it was kind of being... we were pushing back on it real time, and they didn't know what to say or do. That's why they did not act on July 26th. So we ended up leaving. We came back, as previously stated above, on July 27th. We returned to the North Huntingdon Township Police Department lobby and began recording. So both Carrozza and Loge continued to record inside the lobby, ignoring the verbal warnings given the previous day, as well as the documentation explaining the PA court ruling, which explained Bradley and how their actions, namely live streaming and recording while in the lobby, were unlawful. The video was live streamed onto Facebook while both were in the lobby. being streamed on the Carrozza's Facebook page. Carrozza himself was heard acknowledging that he was told not to be here. It will also be noted that Sergeant Bauer, again on this date, 7/27/25, told Carrozza and Loge they were not allowed to record inside the lobby. You can say that and continue to say that. You can say it as many times as you want to say it. It doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it a lawful order. And it does not mean that I have to comply. So, due to both Carrozza and Loge continuing to ignore the North Huntingdon Township Police Department's, they're calling them lawful instructions, but they're not, to cease recording in the North Huntingdon Township Police Department's lobby, and taking into account the verbal command that Sergeant Bauer gave both Carrozza and Loge on the 26th and 27th to cease recording in the lobby, and the clearly posted signage on both the interior of the lobby, which is outside of a secured door with a buzzer and the whole nine. The police have to let you get back in there. Let's stop. Okay, stop with the bullshit. Riley wrote this. Funny, because Riley had nothing to do with us on the 26th, nor the 27th. Officer Bauer was there for both days, yet she's not the one that wrote this affidavit of probable cause. It was an officer that never engaged with us, right? So these clearly posted signs. The North Huntingdon Police Department placed both Carrozza and Loge under arrest for the crimes of defiant trespass and conspiracy to commit defiant trespass. Officers then entered the lobby at 12:43. So I mean, let's think about that, right? So they have it in here that we entered the lobby at approximately 11:31. So what in the world took them an hour and 10 minutes? We were recording the entire time. Well, it's because they didn't know what to do. They knew there was nothing they could do. They knew that what we were doing was constitutionally protected. They thought that giving us that BS case law the day before had just remedied the situation. They didn't expect us to be back the next day. That's what took an hour. So, we were seated. At that point, Officer Riley instructed Carrozza, and this is the first time Riley even gets involved, but he instructed Carrozza and Loge to stand up and place their hands behind their backs as they were both under arrest. Both complied, of course, and we were taken into custody, handcuffed, and double locked without incident. The gimbal, Wi-Fi hotspot, and iPhone Loge that he was using were seized as evidence, as well as the equipment Carrozza was using to record, including a tripod, phone attachment, a microphone, a SanDisk 128. There was also a SanDisk 2 terabyte. There's multiple items that they didn't list. And they failed to give us any sort of list of what they took from us. Says they took an older pink iPhone located on my person. These items were seized to preserve all evidence on these devices, demonstrating that they were used to record audio and video inside the lobby of the police department and to upload those recordings to social media. So here's where it gets interesting, right? Both Carrozza and Loge were then processed. So we were arrested. He talks about the double lock on the cuffs, taken into custody without incident. We were then fingerprinted, photographed, the whole nine. As this is happening, mind you, this is on the 27th, meaning that this affidavit of probable cause hasn't even been written yet, which means there was nothing for a judge to review, so no issuing authority was involved. And then we were advised that we would receive charges via a summons. Well, these are big problems. North Huntingdon knows these are problems. I'm pretty sure that the district attorney knows these are issues. I would have to believe that the attorney general has issues with a lot of what's written in this affidavit of probable cause. I know my neighbors certainly have some issues about what's going on in the affidavit of probable cause. I think a lot of them are upset about being told that they can't exercise their constitutional rights in, tax-funded public lobbies of buildings and departments that they're funding. I just don't know And then when you get into like you took our stuff, you wouldn't give us a receipt for anything you took. If it is found that there was no grounds, no lawful jurisdiction held by the police to even seize us or charge us with anything, then what do you call just taking our stuff? Well, I call it a robbery. It's a strong arm robbery at that rate. You seized our persons. You stole our things. I don't know where you get off doing that. Where do they do that at? North Huntingdon Township. That's where. That's where they do it. I mean, what a sad day in North Huntingdon Township, July 27th, 2025. And then it gets better because then, on August 13th, is when we get the new charges for the disruption of the meeting on July 16th. As the paper wrote, and I wasn't timing it, but I had spoke for 6 minutes and I was only allowed to speak for 5. Mind you, speaking about serious grievances, I mean, you're talking about severe bodily injury, methamphetamine, stolen cars, drive-by shootings, senior citizens getting beat up at McDonald's. I mean, there's some things that need to be discussed at these meetings that aren't being discussed. And I apologize that it's so much and that it's been ignored for so long that it's caused it to be, longer than a 5-minute topic. You're not going to take that out on me because I'm not the one that went to sleep at the wheel and is just turning a blind eye to these things. I may be one of the only people willing to look these things head on and hey, let's try to remedy these. And you're not going to punish me for taking that sort of interest in bettering my community and in taking that sort of interest in the safety and well-being of my community. And don't get it twisted. The school districts know better. I'm up there trying to talk to them about the mold problem that they have, which is, again, has been an ongoing issue, not new this summer because of rain and heat, Dr. McCracken, but an ongoing issue. This mold has been, and I'm the bad guy. That's okay. I have been called worse. I'm willing to be the bad guy. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here for transparency, accountability. I'm here to ensure that my generation doesn't get eaten alive, that we secure some sort of future for the generation coming behind us, that we protect the generation that's in front of us from these bad actors who are now at their age, the generation in front of me, they're looking to just rob you guys of everything you've worked for. What do you think all this, $30 million addition to the school, 10 million on the inside, mold remediations, taxes going up year after year, max increase? What do you think this is all about? This is about taxing fixed income, low income, elderly, getting them out of here, getting them in senior homes, taking their houses, knocking them over, redeveloping, bigger houses, higher tax brackets. That's what this is about. At the end of the day, it's all about the money. It's all about the money, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. Not a problem, not complaining. Not suggesting that we should run a society on the bartering system. But what I am going to say is, if we're going to run that system, it needs to be available to everybody. It can't just be that those in the club have access to the system and the system works for them and only them. It has to work for everybody. It has to work justly, right? Life's not fair, but we're going to do our best to make sure in America that it remains just.